Season 3 of Hacks is finally all out. The finale just dropped the other day, and I'm all caught up, and I'm ready now to talk about Hacks and how much I love this show. I didn't know this existed a month ago, and now it's all I can think about. And this show is criminally underrated, trust me. Hacks is an HBO Max comedy series about a legendary Vegas stand-up comedian named Deborah Vance, and it also follows an oftentimes insufferable young up-and-coming comedy writer in Hollywood who's essentially been blacklisted from the industry after sending out an offensive tweet. But they are forced to team up and work together so that Deborah doesn't lose her residency at the Vegas hotel. So let's break it down season by season. There will be spoilers ahead. I do apologize. I tried my best. I didn't break down every episode. You're welcome. But there will be some spoilers for some major events, so be warned. Season 1, we follow Deborah Vance. Like I said, she's a Vegas comic. She's got a residency at the Palmetto that has been running for years. However, she needs to start spicing up her comedy act to make it fresh. Otherwise, she's going to lose her residency, which we obviously don't want. Enter Ava. She is a struggling comedy writer who can't find any work. Like I said, after posting an offensive tweet, she's become blacklisted, thus creating the perfect pairing between the two. Ava's agent sends her to work with Deborah as her new head writer. And things don't go quite according to plan, yet the two help each other in ways they never expected. Deborah helps Ava overcome her personal struggles, and Ava helps Deborah take more risks in life, and especially risks with her comedy. Now, we learn quite quickly in season 1 that Deborah is incredibly arrogant. She doesn't want to work with anyone. She refuses to include the work that Ava writes for her in her stand-up, which obviously isn't great. But after a road trip the two take to try to get to know one another so that it makes it easier for Ava to write for her, they slowly start to form a bond. In one very wholesome episode, and I should preface that Deborah likes to collect trinkets. She has a cabinet full of trinkets. Deborah tries to buy a pepper shaker from an antique dealer who hates her. She already had one pepper shaker and she was looking for the second one, side by side. But he wouldn't sell it to her, sadly. But Ava returns later and buys it for her. I think she has to jump through some hoops. I can't quite remember what she ended up doing. The two pepper shakers ultimately end up representing Deborah and Ava though, which is kind of cool. Now, while for most of season 1, the two argue over just about everything, they do find common ground in the end, and they develop love for one another. Very sweet. However, this is short-lived after Deborah smacks Ava across the face after looking for work, resulting in Ava sending an email to TV producers, essentially airing out all of Deborah's dirty laundry. Yikes. And like any great show, this conflict comes right before Deborah apologizes to Ava and makes amends and asks Ava to come on the road with her, making us feel incredibly uncomfortable knowing what's about to come next. Season 2, we kick off with a bang with Deborah suing Ava for breaking the terms of her NDA after she comes to learn about the email that she sent in season 1. She treats her like crap on the road, breaking Ava down very, very slowly. I should say as well, during this time, or slightly before, Ava's father had passed away. So while on the road, she had brought his ashes with her. I think it was in a tennis ball container. The two begin to make amends again after the container is accidentally tossed out by, I think it was the bus driver or someone on the bus who's absolutely insane. And Deborah helps her find it and helps her kind of through her heartbreak of losing her father. It's very sweet. Season 2 shows a more personal side to Deborah, often against her will, as Ava pushes her to include more personal stories in her stand-up special. Although these stories might cross a line with some family members, that should be noted. The special becomes a smash hit though, and Ava has studios and producers very interested in her and want her to write for them. She turns them all down though, because she is loyal to Deborah and wants to continue to work alongside her mentor. So this is when Deborah decides to fire her. Of course. She knows the potential she has and she wants to push her out into the world and towards other opportunities because she knows she's not going to leave her otherwise. She tosses out the lawsuit against Ava and essentially cuts off all communication between the two. Season 2 leaves these two characters at the top of their game, Ava with tons of opportunity and Deborah with a smash hit comedy special, which could only set up a dramatic season 3. If we follow hack storytelling, you can kind of guess where this would go. Season 3, we follow Deborah and Ava working together to reach Deborah's ultimate goal of having her own late night show. She ultimately gets it after sleeping with someone, but behind closed doors, we know it wasn't just that. And there were other strings pulled to make sure Deborah secured the late night spot. Ultimately, it all came down to Deb's manager and agent and assistant who made it all happen. But you can watch that play out for yourself. Of course, Ava knows about Deborah sleeping with who she did, but we never think that's going to come back. We kind of forget about that moment because it also happened during an episode where Christina Hendricks guest starred and was playing a rich Republican woman. I can't remember who she was, but she has a fling with Ava and then asks to pee on her. And then the tension is ruined in that moment. And thankfully it doesn't happen. But up until that moment, it was a very hot scene. Also, I just love Christina Hendricks. She should be in everything. Now, we follow just how far they both are willing to go to try and make the late night show happen. The finale just aired, and things seemingly have taken a drastic turn, making the show feel more like Succession now, which is kind of amazing. However, in the final episode, Deborah tells Ava she won't be her lead writer on the show, and even lies to her about why that is. But of course, Ava finds out the truth, and then she goes full Shiv Roy and threatens to expose a dark secret Deborah had that essentially aided in her getting the show in the first place. Obviously, sleeping with the person she did. In the final few moments, Deborah realizes she has officially met her match. In more ways than one, they have essentially become the same person. In a great scene between the two, Deborah says, "You wouldn't." And Ava says, "I would. Wouldn't you?" Now, I know you need context. I won't give you that context because I want you to watch, but just that moment of Deborah realizing she would do exactly what Ava is doing. And Ava has learned from the best, and she has learned from Deborah. And the two are essentially the same person now. Hacks Season 3 proves Ava is just like Deborah, and I am obsessed. For the first time in the show thus far, the premise is upended, and the relationship dynamics are crumbling. The power dynamic was always evident with Deborah being in charge, but that has been flipped on its head completely with the shock twist at the end of episode 9, and I'm totally here for it, and how Ava's newfound power over Deborah will influence season 4, which officially just got announced. Ultimately, everyone needs to watch Hacks. It really is a superb show. I went into it just looking for something quite lighthearted, some comedy. I don't often watch comedy, but this show has so much heart to it. It has a lot of emotional moments. The characters are so well written and the performances are insane. The two leads are absolutely phenomenal. So definitely check out Hacks. It's on HBO Max. You won't regret it. All 3 seasons are out. Go binge them immediately. And I am super excited that season 4 has been announced. Let me know if you've watched Hacks. Leave a review in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.